This is the Besotted Pride of West London podcast, and we're coming to you from a very, very chilly, nippy London. To be quite honest with you, I'm sitting there thinking, is the game going to be on, Laney? Have they got undersaw heating at Brentford anymore? You know what I'm saying? Or do we have to put sort of the covers over the pitch? I've got no idea. I'm sitting here in my freezing virtual void with Laney in the house. Laney, how are you?
Good. I thought you said I'm sitting here in 1985. I think we have technology now that warms the soil. Bill, I don't know if you've heard of undersaw heating. I think we have that in this new stadium. I hope so. We've got a 25 foot by 30 foot TV, so on every stand. So I would have thought that we got undersaw heating.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed on that one, as we'll see when we turn up on Saturday. But like I said to you, it's pretty cold. But at the end of the day, we've got professional players and they've got to deal with these kind of things. Listen, so we're going to be looking forward to a game on Saturday. We've got Luton Town coming down to New Griffin Park for the first time. They're actually going to come to our new stadium. Obviously, we played them a couple of seasons ago in the Championship on their meteoric rise from non-league. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But like I said to you, there's loads of things on this podcast we're going to talk about. We're going to be looking back at the Arsenal game, listening to what the fans had to say in the pub after the Arsenal game. So we've got JB with his fantastic facts and funk. Also, we've got our Bees breakdown, also giving us the statistical lowdown on that Arsenal game, and also looking forward to the Luton game. We've also got Ian Robertson from We Are Luton Town, the old fan group as well, and he's going to be giving us the lowdown on Luton. But Laney, just coming back to talk about last week as well. There was a bit of a miraculous thing happened in the Women's FA Cup, not the FA Cup as such, because we've got a few weeks to go before the FA Cup's going to happen. I think the FA Cup draw is going to be probably in a couple of weeks' time. It's normally the first Saturday of the month, but I'm not sure if it's this Saturday. It might be the Saturday after that, and then there's going to be the draw for the third round of the men's FA Cup. But we had the Women's FA Cup last week, and Brentford got to, I think, probably the furthest they've ever got in the FA Cup, and they drew it was away to Southampton, but there was a bit of a fluff going on with Southampton. They couldn't get the game on a couple of times, so it got switched to Brentford, and the game, very exciting, 3-0 down. The Bees came back from 3-0, went to to extra time. It is, and heartbreakers, the Bees lost 4-3 in extra time, but it was a fantastic game. And like I said to you, we got a besotted contributor, Ali Malali, was at the game as well. Very, very excited. She even did her first ever women's football podcast for Besotted as well. You can check that out on prideofwest.london, and very good it was too. So it seems like Ali's been doing it for years. Well, she's been doing it for years in the studio. It was good though, wasn't it, Laney?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. Yeah, well done, Ali. And I heard the Ristic came straight in there. I know. Mark's been going to most of the women's games as well as the men's ones on the Saturday. So that takes up pretty much all of his weekend. So yeah, fair play to those that do that. But yeah, what a comeback! 3-0 down at the break, and 3-0 down, and then to come back either side of the break and to really push a higher league opposition. It was all credit to the team. And hopefully they can, take really good encouragement from that, and year on year make improvements. So it was a day to remember, even though they lost. But sometimes you've got to take the positives from defeat, and they did the club proud.
That's right. And if you want to go and check out the women as well, they play at Bedfont as well. Still plenty more games to go. They're going to be pushing, as they always do, for promotion to the next division as well. So go and check them out. It's definitely a good day out as well. But anyway, just talking about other things as well. Talking about good or interesting days out. Everton, Laney. I mean, Everton, as we know, we played Everton last couple of seasons. They've been sort of kind of meandering around the bottom of the league. They've spent loads of money. They've been all over the place. They have been, their fans weren't happy with their owner. There's all sorts of, things being called out for their owners to leave, and, telling them they're not doing the right thing with their club. And then they've been hit with this massive kind of penalty for FFP. Now, it's interesting because FFP is something that we, as Brentford fans, and anybody of a team that comes from the Championship and the lower leagues, is very familiar about, because FFP, financial fair play, is something which affects our club and the clubs around us, because it's something that the clubs around us in the Championship in particular used to do quite a lot. They used to basically spend the money that they didn't have to try and get out of the Championship so they can get to the Premier League, where there's loads of money, 150 million. So they think, look, if we can sort of basically cheat and spend more money than we're really allowed to, and then we get out, and then we'll get loads of money, and then if we get any fines, we can pay it back. That's kind of how they sort of tried to work it. So we had teams like Derby County who cheated, sort of do little tricks with their stadium, and they got caught out in the end, and they got loads of fines, and they got now been relegated down to the next division. We had Sheffield Wednesday; they did exactly the same thing as well, and they got relegated down as well. There's loads of teams who sort of cheated. QPR as well. They were cheating with the FFP, but they actually went up to the Premier League, and they thought, brilliant, we've got the Premier League, so they can't do us anymore because we're in a different league than the EFL. And then they got relegated, and they're like, oh no, when they came back down, they said, hello QPR, we're now going to apply the fine for when you got promoted last time, and here you go. So yeah, there's lots of things going on about that. So, but it's quite rare, I'd say, or it should be quite rare for FFP things to happen in the Premier League, because there's so much money flying around. You sort of think clubs shouldn't really be spending out of their, out of their range. Not at all. If you're getting 150 million a year and you stay in the league for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, some of these clubs have been there for even longer. I'm not being funny. It's like, how much money do you need to keep yourselves going? But obviously they need loads of money, because there's some clubs who have been spending and been blatantly blowing the FFP rules, and Everton are one of them. And I know, there's a difference when it comes to the club itself and when it comes to the fans, and the fans are saying, look, you're ruining our club. It's not fair. There's, Man City, they've done the same thing and they haven't been hammered, but we have, but I mean, it's just, there's an interesting conversation going there, isn't it? Especially for us as Brentford fans. And I'm sure if any Luton fans are listening there as well, you're probably thinking the same thing, as to kind of like, we've had to kind of play within the rules, and we've kind of got to where we are by playing within the rules. So do you feel kind of sad for the clubs who don't quite play within the rules and actually kind of break those rules, Laney?
It's the dichotomy is the separating the fans from the club itself. Everton is a shambles. It's a car crash. It's in the 3 seasons that we've been in the Premier League, they've been desperately trying to get relegated. Is only because Leeds were even worse than them, and a couple of others. On the pitch that separated them from survival and relegation. But looking at the crime in inverted commas, they've cheated, and they've survived at the expense of other clubs who played by the rules. You were asking what a Brentford fan feels about the situation. Normally, up until last season, up until 3 years ago, you'd say, well, it doesn't really affect us because we're outside the top flight, but it affects us every bit now. You're talking about seasons where we've been in this league and they've been going against the rules. Where we've been sticking to them. And that first season, you think the first season after Christmas, where we couldn't buy a win, and for a month or 2 months it looked pretty grim for us, until we got Eriksen, and we can argue all day long whether Christian Eriksen saved us from relegation. I'm one that says he played an important part in that, but it was there was other players coming back from injury, and Ivan Toney's goals, they were equally as important in that. But we escaped, or we pulled away from that relegation pack, where if Christian Eriksen hadn't have come and Ivan Toney had got his betting ban then, and we'd had a couple of other bad injuries, then we could have got sucked into that. And it didn't feel like beyond reality to think of a scenario where we could have got relegated and Everton stayed up ahead of us. And if that had happened, like it happened to Leicester last season, like it did happen to Leeds last season, you understand how angry and bitter the other fans are. Well, these fans are going to be bitter anyway, but but rightfully, Everton Football Club have gone against the rules that everyone else has stuck to, or most other clubs have stuck to. Now, there's a lot of whataboutery that goes on from their fans as well, from the Everton fans. What about Chelsea? What about Man City? That's a legitimate question, but it doesn't really excuse what they've done. Yes, Premier League has to come up with a resolution, or they have to, Man City and Chelsea do have to answer the long list of they're more than allegations. They've been found guilty, I think, of breaches of the rules. They have to have their day as well. They have to have their punishment. So I do get the what about, hey, Premier League, what about them? But you brought this on yourselves, Everton Football Club. You can see why the fans are angry, but this, the fans have been crying out for investment and new players, and they demand that they're at the highest end of the top tier. And it's just they've wasted a lot of money on a lot of very, very average players, and even that money wasn't enough. They haven't been out of the top flight. They've had that 150 million or the equivalent of 150 million for every year since the Premier League started, and that's a number that is just gigantic. And for them to be technically skint and breaking spending rules,
cheating.
It is cheating. I mean, we use it's a kind of like it's a jokey insult. Because it's like a basic like accusation, but there is no other word for it. They've cheated. Cheats shouldn't prosper.
Oh, there you go. So Laney said it as well. So, but anyway, we will see how that Everton thing pans out. I know we've got Everton chums, Everton fans and friends out there. And listen, this is not disrespect on you, but listen, we're sitting here as football fans of a club who just basically we've had to do it the hard way. We don't see the big money. We don't see £100 million players. We can't go out and buy whoever we want to, and then if it doesn't work, we just go and buy somebody else for another 100. That just doesn't work in our book. You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes I think maybe clubs have to sort of kind of take a couple of steps back. If they get themselves in a little bit of pickle, to actually kind of readjust themselves. And that's what's happened to a lot of clubs in the Championship when they go down. They've had to sit back. They've had to just chill out a little bit. They've had to realise what they've done is wrong. They've had to kind of recalibrate, and then they've had to move forward. And some of them have done that really, really well. To be fair, Aston Villa have done that from what I can gather really well, even though they seem to still be spending quite a lot of money, and they still seem to be still a lot about the old big shining stars. But to be fair, they've done all right, as opposed to there's other teams down the bottom there who are still trying to recalibrate, like Sheffield Wednesday, who are they're still struggling at the moment now off the back of where they're at, and they haven't quite learned from the lessons. I don't think their owner. I don't know what's going on there, but he's definitely not learning, and they're not moving themselves forward, and they sit back. But anyway, we're not talking about those teams anymore, because that is in another area. We just thought it was very interesting talking about Everton. What we're going to do is that we're actually going to talk about a team who is doing very well at the moment. I think they're top of the league. They're top of the league only because they beat us on Saturday. They beat us with a very late goal, and some people argue that they were quite lucky to have got that win. We talk amongst yourselves about that one. We're going to go away, have a little drink. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Arsenal game. Arsenal came to New Griffin Park, still nervous, still quivering a little bit. Because it's funny that 2-0 win that we had, and I know we're probably going to be going to talk about that till we die, till the end of time. You know what I'm saying? Arsenal could probably beat us 75 times, but we'll always remind them of that first time when we played them the first day of the season when we came into the league and we beat them 2-0. And the thing is that the Arsenal fans are quivering because of that result. I mean, we had Turkish from AFTV who did the preview on this show, and also I was on his back-to-back show on AFTV as well. And I wasn't shy in mentioning the fact that we beat him 2-0, even though it was a couple of years ago, and you could still feel the nerves from them every time you talk about that. And especially as the game was up and coming, it was almost like, this isn't a given. This Brentford game isn't a given at all. We're really scared, and it's quite interesting that, don't you think, Laney, that we've kind of not say done a little number on them, but we've made them think, haven't you? Don't you think?
Well, we're moving from one set of entitled fans to another bunch of entitled fans. The Arsenal lot. We've still got them rattled a little bit. Saturday evening wasn't as salty because they got the last gasp winner. But I think what we showed was, an incredible spirit, and still that there's still kind of saltiness about the way we played, and a complete lack of understanding about how injury ravaged we are, and we still push them every inch of the way to the final whistle. Almost, we lost. One second's lack of concentration at the back, and ghosted in at the far stick. Brilliant cross by Saka.
Havertz as well.
Got Havertz, yeah, and he got the header that nutmegged that Flecken, and it was gutting to have lost that. But in the two games that we've played against Arsenal at our place this year, in both games we put a patched up, very, very makeshift team. I mean, this last Saturday night slightly less so, but still way weaker than our first choice 11 if we had everyone available and everyone fit. So they were able to field anyone and everyone they wanted to. You saw what Arsenal did last night against Lille. They actually tore them a new one. I think the expression is they beat them 5-0 up at the break, and they made it 6 after the break. And it was embarrassing really to watch, thinking a patched up Brentford team would probably compete well in the group stages of the Champions League, and I don't think I'm exaggerating really. I think there's a lot of fodder in that Champions League format, and it shows you now that we are the real deal. We in a very good season. We're not going to get. I don't think we'll ever get fourth place realistically, but we could qualify for Europe, and we could probably do okay. We could certainly win a few games, and we could certainly do ourselves justice. So what Saturday night showed me was Arsenal were. They can be very average. They have got a few stars. They did knock it about a bit, but we were always going to let them come onto us and try and do them. Not necessarily on the break, because I think that oversimplifies it. I think we were way better than that. What a few people said to us. Long ball. Didn't really try and play football. The Arsenal fan that you spoke to straight after the game, he seemed to have got a grasp of how the game really was. And I just think
which way?
Well, he was very disappointed in his own team and very, very positive about us. I think he understood that the circumstances that we found ourselves in, and the spirit and the intent that we set about the game. I don't actually think that we sat back like we have done that. I'm not going to hide and say that there aren't games where we've not literally absorbed every attack and tried to with one or two attacks win the game. You can say we did that at Chelsea this season. It was very much all them possession wise, and we robbed them on the break. But that was our game plan. That we didn't play like that on Saturday evening. I thought we had way more attacking intent than that. But we were realistic. We went with that team. We were never going to go toe to toe in an all out basketball game, literally one up and down and up and down. They would have beaten us because of the staff at our disposal. So I thought there were some really positives, some real positives there. I thought Godos, in a rare start at left back, he didn't let us down. I thought that Yarmolenko was a huge plus. We've been calling out for him to start, and he did, and he looked every bit a Premiership player. So in a defeat, as you're going to hear on the fan clips, there was a lot of positives to be taken from that. So yeah, I just it was a hard-earned win for Arsenal. They knew they were in a game. Brentford were just good at what they're good at. Yeah, I think that's the expression.
That's
good
right.
At what we do.
Good at what we do. Apparently, we are good at what we do. Apparently,
yeah, we are.
That's right. Anyway, listen, we're going to go over and listen to the fans directly after the game, both the Brentford fans and the Arsenal fans, to hear what they had to say about that Arsenal match.
we messed Arsenal up. They didn't really know what to do with us. We were really in their faces. We were really going for it. We made the 2 best chances of the game. They scored that shitty goal right at the end, which has really pissed me off. But they didn't deserve to win. I mean, they didn't look anywhere near as good as they were last season when they came down here. We were much better. And we were like on our bare bones, weren't we? I mean, Godos, I thought, played really well. You know, the players that came in, Frank, one of his best games for us. We really took it to him. We were good. We stopped them playing, and I thought we deserved a lot more than nothing.
We were the better team, really, for 98% of that match. They took their chance. They got their goal. It was a good goal that they scored. We had 2 good chances. I don't know quite what to say, really. I mean, it is a shame, but they're Arsenal, we're Brentford, and we are the best, and we will move on. I'm lost for words.
I think we're really unlucky not to get something from that. I think we had two chances cleared off the line. I don't know what Arsenal players are coming over to Ramsdale at the end, like he'd somehow kept them in the game. He made a single save, did he? I think Frank had a really, really good game. I think we just really lacked somebody who could, with a bit of composure, to pass the ball out. I think that's what it felt like, and it was just, I think Jens should have been there. A few more passes, strung them together. But I think considering we cobbled together a team, I think we put in a really good shift. They defended really well. We were dreadfully unlucky, and there's no way Arsenal winning the league if they play like that. City and Liverpool streets ahead of them.
We were doing so well the whole game. Genuinely, we played really, really well. Onyeka was really on one today, really proud of him. And then, I was watching it, I was thinking the second we went that deep inside that last 10 minutes, but we can't keep this up for 10 minutes, inviting them this deep for no reason. And it wasn't like we had no choice but to do it either, because we hadn't done it the whole game. I don't know what made us shift. And then, I saw it go in. I thought Flecker's not come out for it. And before you know it, it's hard to see from certain angles where you are in the stadium and whatnot, but you just kind of knew it was going in. And it's gutting, really, to end a 14-game London derby streak. I think we had to go in, and then to end it like that, it's really quite gutting, really, isn't it? Yeah.
It's smash and grab, and it's like he didn't know which team was actually fighting to be top of the league. I thought the team in red and white was. See, look, everyone saw that. They're watching it on TV. People, there's no delusions here. It wasn't great, and Brentford were actually really, I just think solid. Patched outside, but defensively, it was just a wall. It's like Ben Mee's ridiculous. Frank Onyeka was just basically in front of everything, like throwing his body and his face in front of it on the line. But Arsenal didn't carve anything they couldn't do. They were second best, in my opinion. I'm not complaining. You can't complain. 1-0. You're top of the league. You've got to take what you can. You've got to win games like that, ugly games, and you've got to win them. But it don't feel good to me. I won't be watching that on Match of the Day tonight. It's not shameful, because Brentford are a good team. I'm sorry. Brentford are now a proper Premier League team. And I'd say, I think the only thing that Brentford did, they played into our hands by actually sitting back at the end of the game. Instead of playing the game like they did for like 80 odd minutes, they then suddenly decided to sit back for the last 10 minutes and then let Arsenal come forward. And it was at some point something has to give if you're going to do that, because I thought Brentford were in control of the game.
So quite important for every Brentford fan to remember 2 things. One, if you watch the way Arsenal celebrated at the end, they knew that was a proper game. And 2, they only beat our reserve team.
There you have it, Bees fans and Arsenal fans. And again, listen to it, the Arsenal fan there, he said it as it was as well. And also it's interesting, we Arsenal fans as well, who messaged me later on that night or in the morning as well. I mean, I think they messaged me first of all at 1 o'clock in the morning because they were still celebrating a victory against Brentford, which I think in a way kind of makes me feel quite happy. I'm happy that they're celebrating a victory against Brentford, but the fact that they have to go out and celebrate a victory against Brentford, which goes to show you how far we have come now. And then messaged me again in the morning, after asking me how are you feeling, Bill? And I just said, well, to be quite honest, I said I had to go and call the police because there's daylight robbery at New Griffin Park in the previous evening, like what I'm saying, and I said a lackluster side got absolutely got mugged, what I'm saying. But anyway, they said that, and then they said, to be fair, we were terrible. And again, it was like we were terrible, and also is it a case that Brentford made you play not as well, not as good as you can do? There's all these things that kind of come into play. I mean, I watched the game back, and we did have quite a few chances, and like I said to you, there were everyone talks about the Rice clearance off the line, great clearance off the line, but I don't, that for me wasn't the clearance off the line. The clearance off the line in the second half, that was the one, because that was a goal. That was a goal, and bang, that was a frustrating one, and that's the one where the game would have gone either way as well. But yes, we did have a number of other chances as well, and to be fair, I'm going to say as well, to when the goal came, because I think we just ran out of steam. I think maybe the Allied said it, or somebody said it after the game. They just said, we just literally ran out of steam towards the end of that game. We ran out of players, we ran out of steam. We were just kind of holding on. We were sitting deeper and deeper and deeper. And that cross that came across, though, because I was looking for the fault, and I was thinking, did somebody not press Sasha when they should have done? But then, to be fair, he changed direction, turned, put the cross in. But the cross was it's a wicked cross. That cross was wicked. And to be fair to Havertz as well, the way that he kind of followed it through, it was right. But I'm going to ask a question, Laney. Do you think if David Raya was in goal, and I'm going to mention this as well, David Raya is in goal, he would have saved that? He would have come out for that. And he would have blocked it.
No, I don't think. No, I'm not sure. No, yeah. I don't see there being much difference from that. I think the quality of the cross was great. I don't think David Raya's particularly great in the air either. That was never really his strong point. He's not a tall keeper. He may have done. Who knows? But I see why you're asking. But no,
it just needed the goalkeeper to come out though. He didn't even need to catch it, but to come out. And when he put the header, because I think he put the header down, it was on the near post as well.
I think it was just the cross was so beautiful into that no man's land pocket behind everyone. It curled from left to right. It was curling towards goal. I think it was just such a brilliant cross. I think you just have to. Sometimes you just got to credit the cross. The header was whatever, it went through the keeper's legs. You couldn't stop pigging the pashes, maybe, as that's the expression, and he was bow-legged. But you have to make yourself big, and you get done sometimes. I think Havertz got a bit slightly lucky with the finish, but the cross was just stunning.
Yeah, okay. I remember we used to do this I think it was on the Sunday when we used to do our Sunday podcast as well. And we used to, we used to ask all the people. We had 3 people around the table. I think it's 4 people around the table it used to be. And we used to ask them what the 3 people, what the fairness factor was of the fairness factor, out of 100%, where 100% is completely fair, and obviously 0% is like completely unfair for the result. What do you think the fairness factor was for that game, Laney? Going back to the old school.
Low. I felt like it was 10 tops. Maybe even less than that. 5% fair.
See, that's the thing. It doesn't. I mean, the fairness factor goes like, if 50% is quite an unfair result on the fairness factor, 30% is really quite bad. If you should have won 2-0 and you end up losing 7-0, then that's when it starts going low and low. The fairness factor was actually 78% fair. They thought so. It wasn't like, but put it this way, if they believed that Arsenal should have won 1-0, it would have been 98%. But it was 78%, which means that there was a little bit of a grey area in there. But it might have slightly gone in their favour. From an XG perspective, it was 1.25 to the Bees, 1.68 to Arsenal. So we created some chances. They created some bigger opportunity chances, but still, they like I said, they created some bigger opportunity chances in there as well. But
I don't like the way that's measured, personally,
because it didn't go in our favour. Do you mean?
I don't understand the rules.
That's right. I'll teach you later. Actually, I'll take you down to Billy B's classroom, and we'll teach you.
You're all right. You're all right. Unless there's a beer involved, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. But just talking about that game, like I said to you, there were some positives, or there were quite a number of positives from that game as well. Like you've mentioned a couple of players who you felt had good matches. Brian Mbumo on another day would have had at least 1 goal, maybe if not 2 goals as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, again, this is why we kind of like laugh at the fool that said, Brian Mbumo was rubbish on beside Facebook, like a couple of 3 or 4 weeks ago. But Brian Mbumo is having an incredible season. He can only do so much because he is our right winger. He's our centre forward. He has to come back and pick the ball up. He has to be a supply line to the other forwards and the midfielders that are pushed forward. He has to get back and defend. He's literally having the season of his life. And of course, there's you'd hope to have more goals from him as well, but you're expecting miracles from a player that's more than filled in for Ivan Toney. When Ivan comes back, if he comes back in the middle of January, we might see even more from Brian, because the pressure's off of him a little bit to kind of fill that role as well. So not only has he had to be the outlet on wide right and cut in and score goals, he's had to kind of be the main striker, really. I mean, we haven't really got a number 9. I'm not, I don't think Weiser's really that player either. So, in adversity, he's kind of really shone. So yeah, what a player.
Yeah, interestingly, I mean, when we break down the game, and the strengths and weaknesses of the team we use whoscored.com for this, and I'm not sure if they either got bored or couldn't be asked or just literally didn't fill it in, because I'm sitting down there and I'm looking at Brentford's strengths and there's nothing. And Brentford's weaknesses: poor at finishing and lost possession often, what I'm saying, and we favoured long balls and we favoured through balls. And then you look at Arsenal's strengths as well, and literally they haven't filled anything. So basically it looks like that both of us never had any strengths in that game, and their weaknesses were poor at finishing, and they're also caught offside often. They had loads of possession in our half and they dominated possession. Like I said to you, 15 shots to our 9, 12, 8 open play. We've got the XG, which we talked about a little bit, and we've got B's breakdown is going to be giving a little bit more of a statistical lowdown, so we're not going to go too much into that. Jesus had the most shots for in the game. He had 4 shots for Arsenal. Then we had Mbeumo had 2, Maupay had 2, Trossard had 2, and Godos had 1. So I mean, it's just giving you a bit of an overview of that game. I mean, if anything, a draw would have been a fair result, but also, like I said to you, looking at the XG, looking at the shots, looking at what happened there, it could have gone either way. For me, I was sitting there expecting that game to go to draw. We talked about the week beforehand who is it we were playing? When you asked, would you take a draw against, who is it again? Who did we play the week before?
Ham.
Was it West Ham? Was it West Ham? And you asked, would you take a draw? And I said no, even though, I think we went behind. Did we go behind?
Yeah.
We went behind. And I said, I'm not going to take a draw. And then we were drawing. He said, would you take a draw? And I said, no, we should still take a win. And we got the win in the end, because you felt that win was coming. Whereas on last Saturday, I'm like, if you take a draw, I'm like, yeah, I'll take a draw. And that's when it was 0-0, because it was just one of them things where I was happy with the draw against Arsenal. And I think it was a bit of a kind of blow to the guts when they got that late winner, because in the end of the day, even though they're quality side, you just felt you didn't actually really deserve that, Arsenal. And I think their fans deep down as well thought the same thing.
Apparently it was 78% fair though, Bill. Apparently.
That's right. Well, it's 78%.
You can't argue with that, can you? Really?
No. Well, that's still not high enough on the fair scale to say that they should have got a win. You know what I'm saying? Because that's we set that parameter. You know what I'm saying? But which is all good. But listen, talk about setting parameters, right? JB has been setting all sorts of parameters with loads of facts and funk over the years as he's been on this podcast. We're going to go over to him to check out his latest set of facts and funk.
Hello, Jonathan Birchall back again. For the second time in 6 games, the opposition manager was able to look to his bench late on and bring on a current international, who'd be the one to score and take the points from us in the 10 minutes or so that they were on the pitch. By contrast, none of Thomas Frank's outfield subs against Arsenal had even been away on international duty last week. The chances of an Arsenal game ending 0-0 was always unlikely, as we've never had one with them in the 18 previous League and Cup meetings. We've now had back-to-back Premier League defeats without scoring. That's only happened once before, in December 2021, in the games with Brighton away and Man City at home. Saturday was the first time we haven't scored in a league game at home for over a year, since the 0-0 with Chelsea in October 2022. One highlight though was the first Premier League start for Yahoo Yarmouk. He's not even in our 25-man Premier League squad, as he registers as an under-21, having been born in 2004. Aged 19, he's become our youngest player to start in a Premier League game for us. Back in our original top-tier spell, Wally Bragg was the youngest player at just 17 when he played a single game in that 1947 relegation season. Two of the stars of our 1942 London War Cup final win were also younger when they made their Division 1 debuts. George Wilkins, who was the father of 4 sons, Graham and Steve, who also played for us, Dean, who was with Brighton, and England's Ray, who made his name at Chelsea, was 6 months younger than Yarmulke, while Les Smith, who scored both goals in the 1942 final, was 18 when he first played for us. Although all of those are veterans compared to Danny Salmon, who set the club's record when he made his full league debut in the 4th tier in 1976, while he was still just 15.
So there you go, JB, facts and funk. And he just gets involved, doesn't he, Laney? We keep going on about, I've got no idea how long he spends just finding this information. You say that he makes it up. I do not believe that he makes it up. I believe that he's got this magic computer system thing where all of a sudden things happen on a Saturday and then bing, he just comes up with some fantastic information that just links to it somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. He's an absolute star. He's a star of the pod. He's certainly the funkiest person on the pod consistently over the last 5 years, I'd say.
That's right, indeed. So good on you, JB, and we'll catch up with you for a beer. Maybe over Christmas. You never know. Maybe down in Brighton, if you're down there as well. We'll talk about that later. I'm quite looking forward to the trip to Brighton, actually. In fact, we'll talk about that maybe at the end of the podcast as we go. But anyway, just coming back to talking about that match, Laney. We've talked about, how Brentford have panned out. We're a bit disappointed they didn't get the result. The way that we've played. I mean, we've talked a little bit statistically about XG, but we rather go over to somebody who knows what they're talking about. We've got the Gowler, right? Bees breakdown posse. It's based over in the States, and they do their weekly statistical breakdown. And tactical breakdown on besotted.com. Go and check it out. It's really, really interesting. Really, really good. But anyway, he's just going to give us that little bit of a lowdown on that Arsenal game. And he's also going to look forward to the Luton game.
Hey, this is Jacob Galler with Bees Breakdown. So for the Arsenal match, the underlying numbers suggest that Brentford were a bit unlucky to not come away with the point. They had 1.28 expected points, and Arsenal did end with slightly more XG at 1.65 compared to Brentford's 1.19, but Brentford missed 2 big chances, which is anything that's over 0.33 XG. And for some individual stats, Iron and Bumo each ended with 3 shot creating actions. I thought that the midfield was instrumental in keeping Arsenal from creating too many chances. Norgard had 5 tackles, while Onyeka finished with 4 interceptions and 9 ball recoveries. Arsenal sending in so many crosses just made it crucial that Brentford's back 3 had an aerial presence, and Ben Mee, Ayer, and Pinnock went a combined 12 of 15 on aerial duels, which is very impressive against one of the best aerial teams in the Premier League. Alright, so now for that Luton Town preview. So they're currently in 17th and getting a little bit of help from Everton's point deduction there. They've only created 13.8 XG on the season, and most of those chances are coming from crosses into the box, which they've connected on 33 of those, which is the most in the Premier League. They do have the lowest average possession at 36.4%, so it's no surprise that they're launching 85% of their goal kicks and just relying on that direct play style, having the second most long passes attempted in the Premier League while having the fewest overall passes in general. And they're one of 4 teams this season that have not had a clean sheet, but they are second in tackle percentage at 56.5%. Which is a bit surprising because they have allowed the highest post-shot XG per shot on target, which just means that their defense is giving up high percentage opportunities. But the thing is, their keeper's massively overperforming, and so he's saved 4.5 more goals than he was expected to. And sometimes Thomas Frank's sides tend to struggle against these type of teams. And while Luton do have the second highest PPDA, just meaning that they tend to sit back and not press, their last match against Crystal Palace, their PPDA was a lot lower than their average, and so that just means that they didn't sit back as much, and they came out to press a bit. So I think Thomas Frank will certainly hope for that and more of an open match where Brentford can kind of find space in behind.
So there you go, Bees Breakdown. So Arsenal, right? They got the points, 3 points. To be fair, I'm actually already looking forward to going to, well, the Emirates, Highbury, as we call it, stadium, actually, because I know that they get really upset with us because they can't rely on getting a win. So already I'm actually really looking forward to upsetting them after that one, and I think we definitely owe them one, don't we, Laney?
Yeah, we do. But I really want to see us win at the Emirates. We haven't really looked like doing that. I mean, we played better last year, first season. We didn't really do ourselves justice. Last year was obviously the controversial equaliser. Is that stadium and obviously Anfield and Old Trafford. I want to see us win all of those soon. So it's going to take some kind of performance, but hopefully we might have. All our aces back in the new year, so we'll see how it goes. But we've got a couple of big games coming up before Christmas as well, haven't we?
Yeah, all our aces except for the ones that are going to be at the African Cup of Nations, but we won't talk about that right now. But anyway, listen, moving forward, we're going to go away, have a little drink, kind of come back, and we're going to talk about the Luton game. Luton Town. A team that we played so many times, literally so many times in the lower leagues. I know we've got a lot of new listeners, a lot of listeners from the States, a lot of listeners from all over the world who have probably started supporting Brentford in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So they're not quite as familiar with our lower league journey, but some of them say that they really like us talking about it because it gets them more educated, gets them more of a feel for what the club's all about, gets them to realise that it's not all about Arsenal and Man United and Liverpool and Everton and those teams as well. And some of them really like the funny stories that we talk. And like I said to you, we're going to get this up the ground in the new year. Like I said to you, if you know your history, we're going to do a little If You Know Your History podcast series. We're just trying to work out how we're going to do that, where we're going to just start talking about old school games, and we might do it between ourselves. We might get fans from other clubs in. We might get old school players to come in and talk about it, but we're definitely going to get that up and running because it's definitely got some legs on that, like I said to you. But in the meantime, we can just talk about it within these podcasts here as well. And like I said to you, Luton Town, I mean, I've seen Brentford. I've been to Luton's ground more times than you can think. It's funny because, I've got my American friends again who start sending me that one photograph of Luton because they're in the Premier League. They're like, "Oh my God, look at this! This ground's in the Premier League." And I'm like, "Yeah, we've been going there for 4 years or even more." So we know a lot about Luton Town. Luton Town know a lot about us. Just going back, because what we're going to do is that we're just going to have a little chat about Luton now because they've had a little bit of a rise, and Ian Robertson from We Are Luton Town is going to talk about that in a little bit. But what I find really interesting about Luton is, obviously they came close the previous season where they got to the playoff semi-final. I didn't quite work out for them. And normally when you get the playoff semi-final as a team that everyone thinks, that's a little bit of a bolt out the blue, the following season you kind of do really badly and you end up in the bottom three and sometimes even get relegated. But it didn't happen for the Luton because they kept on going. And that kind of pricked my ears up thinking, how have they done this then? What's been going on? And I sort of did a little bit of rooting around. And then I found out that there's this one, not saying that this guy is completely and utterly irresponsible for it, but I noticed that there's this character called Jay Socick, S-O-C-I-K. He actually ran or runs still a Twitter kind of handle called Blades Analytic, who I used to still follow. I used to chat to every now and again. And basically Blades Analytic was an analytics kind of, body. He was a person who was just basically into analytics, but he was a football fan. I think he might have been a Sheffield United fan. I'm not 100% sure because he was Blades Analytic, or he is obviously still a Sheffield United fan, but he was basically in that analytics world. Do you remember when we first started getting into the Championship, Laney? And, Matthew Benham started to explain to us what it's all about and all the analytics world, and we started to find that these new different people were in a footballing world that we kind of had no idea about, and they started popping up all over the place, and a lot of them started popping up on Twitter just basically talking about stats and talking about football in a completely different way. And a lot of these people were just fans, but there were fans who kind of understood analytics, who were probably doing it at university or whatever. And this person was one of those people, and I found him sort of quite interesting, and he was quite engaging. And every time you talk to him, he was always talk to you back anyway. His name's Jay Socick, and we used to have XG Dave, if people remember, he used to do the XG. He used to do the stat side of things on Besotted as well. And great guy, Dave. And again, in his early days, I think he used to know and speak to Jay Suchik and used to talk about him and the fact that, he was doing similar things to what he was doing. Anyway, this Jay Suchik, he kind of ended up going, and I think he probably ended up getting a gig. And if I remember rightly, he got a gig at Peterborough, sort of kind of like finding players for them. They just said, "Oh, no, mate, we've seen you on Twitter and you seem to be quite good. Let's bring you in and let's do some stuff for us." So he started doing some stuff for Peterborough, started bringing some players in. I mean, he might have been responsible for the Ivan Toney thing. I'm not quite sure. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the Jay Suchik did that, and I thought it was cool. But then I just stopped following him. And then all of one, when Luton came up, I just sort of saw, God, had they done that? Next minute I saw he put a tweet out going, "I'm so proud of this lot." And I found that, has gone in at Luton. So he's been at Luton for a few years, and I think he's been responsible for being part of that whole stats team that has been bringing in all these players who have kind of done what they've had to do for Luton for the past couple of years. Now, we're talking about similarities. We're sort of different teams, but you can kind of see the path that they've taken, Laney, and the path that we've taken is quite similar, and it almost seems like they're sort of kind of using a similar route to get to where we are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, we are very different in the way we play football, I think, or the way we played football in the Championship. I think both are brilliant examples of doing what you've got to do to get out of the Championship. But you can only do that by having good players. You can't do that by luck. You can have a good season by luck, but it'll only get you so far. Luton have done an incredible way. It's just the most brilliant story that, obviously they got punished heavily, huge points deductions over a couple of years, that meant that it was almost impossible for them to survive in League One and then through to League Two, and then they went into the non-league. For them to come back and to get to the top tier is remarkable. It shows you how good and how strong the football pyramid is in England, and people say it's the envy of the world, and you can see why. Anyone that watches non-league at any level, not at any level, but they're like 2 or 3 divisions out of the league, you probably can't really tell the difference between the bottom tier and the second 2 tiers below. The teams are really professional. The standard of football's great. Quality of football's great. There's some incredible players, and Luton have been able to harness some of that. And it's great that they've got 1 or 2 of their squad have enjoyed that journey from the bottom to the top, and they weren't jettisoned either when they got there. They weren't kind of thanks, cheers, see you later. They're actually playing and getting good minutes at the top tier. So yeah, I've got a lot of time for the Hatters, and it's great to have them in the Premier League with us. We're not. I haven't got many warm things to say about Luton over the years. I don't enjoy going there, and I've not really enjoyed their fans coming to our place. There's been a couple of like really moody nights at Griffin Park, in Hate Corner. There was like a notorious night as well down there, and we've not had a warm, friendly relationship with them. However, you have to tip your hat and just say well done. And they're really fighting, they're battling, they're contributing. They're not fodder. They've really realised what they have to do. And the games they lose lately have been by a single goal or 2, Aston Villa, but they're starting to chip away at a points total, and you realise that there's 3 or 4 teams that really are shocking at the bottom, and obviously Everton with their points deduction. Luton stand a decent chance of staying up, and good luck to them.
Yeah, and just talking about the players themselves, And you're talking about, we're talking about, when I say similar, I'm just talking about how a team has fought against adversity to get to the top table as such. And we've done it in a particular way. And Matthew Benham have brought particular types of players, and he's got a footballing style that he says we've got to play. And then we buy these players in, and then we might develop them over 2 years so that they eventually can actually play at a particular level. So we'll get them as rough diamonds, but they won't be up and running straight away. Sometimes it might take them 6 years, might take 6 months, it might take a year. I mean, Chidozie Ogbene is a good example of that player. We got him from Ireland for 50p. We brought him in, and, we were trying to develop him to get him up to another level. But because we'd moved on so many levels, we felt that it was better for him to move on and try and find game time elsewhere rather than keep him in our camp for another 2 years to get him up to the level that we want. So that's kind of how we did it to try and get it in our playing style. But for Luton, in the same way that we've got our sort of no dicks policy, no dickheads policy, that we bring players on, and players got to be background checked, and they've got to be particular type of players to play for Brentford. It seems that Luton also do the similar thing as well. For them to have got out of that division, for them to have maintained themselves in this division, they have to have a particular type of character. They've got to be a particular type of players for them to actually kind of do it. And I think the team bonding thing for them is very important. I mean, no, team bonding is very important for all teams, but for them to have a particular type of character, it seems to be very important. It's almost like that was one of the tick boxes, which was massive for them, as opposed to having a big price tag, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to be lazy and just chuck the, functional football. They've done well. I watched them play Liverpool 2 or 3 weekends ago, and they looked really good. They gave Liverpool a proper scare, and if they won, which I think they probably deserved to on the day, it would have been really justified. And anyone that beats Liverpool or draws against Liverpool, you've got to be a good team. They are a brilliant example, another great example of a very well-run club. They're in a sweet spot. It was, as you said, they went close the previous season to when they did come up, and it was important that they finish the job off the next year. Otherwise, there's always a tendency, or always a threat of that getting derailed, and you can go backwards at a great rate of knots, as well as sort of having sort of come up the leagues as quick. Unless you actually seize the opportunity, the team gets kind of dismantled, and a couple of wrong decisions, and you've missed your chance. They've seized that chance, and I hope they stay up, mate. They've got a new season, a new stadium on the horizon. It will be good for them to leave Kenilworth Road in a similar way to what we did. Obviously, there are fans there, but we left and moved into our new stadium, and it coincided with the promotion, the season before promotion. It was a good time to be moving stadium, rather than you see sometimes where you get relegated, like Everton. Going back to Everton, they could be moving into their new stadium having been relegated, which is not what they imagined. And as another example, I'll keep going back to the Everton analogy, because we spoke about them at the beginning of the podcast. Brentford and Luton have had to fight in the Championship against these clubs coming down with big parachute payments, big squads of players, having failed to survive and got relegated, deservingly to get relegated. But they've always got an advantage. They always can outspend you. They can always have that comfort of 2 or 3 seasons of being able to keep their better players. And if you still then can't go up, if you still then screw up, if you're still then overspending, you get little sympathy from me, because we've had to compete with that, and we've beaten them, and we got promoted. So yeah, it's brilliant to have smaller clubs in the Prem. I think the Prem probably hate it. I mean, Bournemouth, Brentford, Luton, Forest, Fulham. They probably don't like having those smaller clubs in the top tier. But I've got all Forest fans are going crazy. I can know now. So I mean, we are a bit of a turd in the pool, but I think we're starting to. We know that we're contributing. We know that other fans of other clubs now have come round to thinking, actually, Brentford are good. We're not that sort of little upstarts punching well above our weight. I think we've become established, and there's room for other well-run clubs to come up and show the rest of them how it can be done.
Yes, indeed. So listen, we talked about Luton for a little bit. Let's go over to Ian Robertson from We Are Luton. He's going to give us the lowdown on Luton Town.
Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. It's Ian Robertson from We Are Luton Town and the WALT podcast, the We Are Luton Town podcast, which we started up this year. You can go over and actually have a listen to us if you want. We've got lots of guests on there from Luton fans. We have a few games and speak about the games and stuff. So it's a really fun, laid-back pod. So if you've got time, go over and check it out at the WALT podcast on Twitter. You'll find it on all the major podcast providers as well, so you can go find us over there. Thanks for having us on today. Really appreciate that. I know we've spoken in the past, but we haven't seen each other for a season or two, so it's good to be back on. Obviously we're in the Premier League now. We're back playing football against each other, and obviously we had a very good season last season. Did it come as a shock last season that we were promoted? I think shock's the wrong word. We've been a very good team for a long time in the Championship. I think the difference last season, we were just very hard to break down, defensively very strong. Similarly, this season, all the games have been very tight. We've got a very good defensive structure, which is very odd because we had a lot of defensive injuries last season, and we have this season. But it doesn't matter who steps in. We seem to kind of get the job done. We do really, really well defensively as a unit, and normally win by the odd goal, which you kind of saw against Crystal Palace last week. It was a crazy old season. Obviously, no one thought we'd go up. It was always, Luton aren't going to quite do it. They haven't quite got enough to get up. They don't play expansive football. They're just Route 1, which was kind of an uneducated, review really, because we had more ties to our bow than just Route 1 football. We play out from the back. We played lots of different systems, and that's why we got the results we got last season. Very nervy at the end. Coventry went all the way to penalties, which Luton do not win on penalties, hardly ever. It took a long time to sink in. It was such a fantastic day after everything we've been through up and down the leagues. Never did I think that when I walked out of the gates against Staines that one day we would be playing in the Premier League. It was just too much to fathom, really. And what a journey it's been. People say it's the greatest story in football. It's one of them for sure. Football is fantastic and it's got lots of great stories, but that's certainly one of them. It took a long time to sink in. It still feels like a little bit of a fairy tale, to be honest. I don't like to glow up the Premier League like it's a massive dream, because obviously it's great for the football club. It has its issues, but it's a great league to be in, and it does mean that I've got to see us in every single league, from the conference to the top and down again and back again. So from that perspective, it's great. You get to visit new grounds. Some I've been to before, but yeah, we're really happy to be here. And it was just a crazy season last season, and we took advantage of it, and we're in the Premier League, and I feel we've made a pretty good start actually to the Premier League. I think if you read 9 out of 10 pundits out there at the beginning of the season, we were completely written off from the start. Our recruitment was judged very heavily as to not be sufficient enough. Well, I'm sure you Brentford fans will know that there's more to the story than just big names, right? We look at your model and are very envious of it, and in somewhat follow it a little bit. We know you've got to dig deeper to find talent out there if you're going to survive. So we can't afford to spend 20 million on a player. We can't afford to spend 10 million on a player. So our budget was in and around £20 million. I think we did very well with that. Ogbene, who you'll know very, very well, it didn't quite break into your team because obviously the trajectory you were on. We've had that similarly with players over the last few years that have done very well but just can't break into their team because our trajectory has been so high. But the potential was always there for him, and he's done amazing work for us. We got him on a free, which we've had lots of players on a free over the last few years, and they've done very, very well for us. And he's started exceptionally well. He's a very good fella. Fastest footballer in the Premier League at the minute. But he creates goals as well. You'll see that from Crystal Palace last week. Absolutely beautiful delivery for Brown to pop it in. So he's been a very good signing. Likewise, Tendon Menge from Man United, centre-back, had his injury problems with Man United, couldn't quite break in. But we seem to be a club that likes to take in strays that aren't quite there or have had injuries or haven't quite broken into teams, and we make them into players. That's been our ethos over the last few years. Alfie Doherty, again, one of those players that had his injury problems but hasn't really had major injury problems with us and has gone to do exceptionally well for us. So he's very, very good as well. But the recruitment, again, has been exceptional this year. To only spend around £20 million to be producing the output that we are, and have kept, the core of the team that we had last season. Just the strength in depth is much stronger now, and we've got more options to play more systems, which we have been doing this season. So again, the recruitment team has been exceptional. That's been really, really good. And I think, I think we're a little bit ahead of where I think we were, not points wise, but in terms of our progression. We've learned a lot over the last few games. Sorry. We're learning on the job, basically. We had a couple of the first couple of games against Brighton and Chelsea were kind of humblings, but other than that, they've all been very tight games against good opposition. You saw that against Man United, against Liverpool, even the Aston Villa one. The actual play of the game was pretty tight. So we're competing, and I think that's the word. We're very competitive, and I think if we are going to stay up, that's what's going to keep us up. We're extremely competitive compared to the other two that have come up, and I do think we should have had a few more points on the board. We were all over Wolves. We shouldn't have let that last minute goal in against Burnley. We should have had at least 3 or 4 more points on the board by now. But it's going to be very tight. It's a massive ask to see if we'll stay up or not, especially at the budget we're on. Again, it will be a hell of a story if we can. I know Everton have had the points deductions, but they're still not far away from us. They've had a good start, so I don't think that will affect them that much. Bournemouth, again, have had, a nice little run of results. They seem to, not just points, but their performances have picked up as well. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. You would imagine one of Heckingbottom or Company will go at some point if their results continue. That can always have a turnaround in form for those teams. So it's going to be a big tough ask. Although we're competitive, and although we are putting the performances in, other teams can do that as well. So we're just got to be mindful of that. If we stay up, absolutely fantastic. If we don't, it really isn't the end of the world. The Luton board always have the saying, no trapdoors. We weren't going to come and spend 100 million here this season. And then if we get relegated, be in serious trouble. That was never going to happen. We've spent sensibly. If we go down, we'll have money to invest again and spend that sensibly. It's all about a progression and trajectory for us, similar to Brentford, You've done that exceptionally well. You've come up and down a few times, but actually now you look like a team that is kind of bedding itself into being an established Premier League team. You're in and about it. You're a really good team. So I think that'll be the case with Luton. If we go down, it's fine. I'm sure we'll come back up again. But if we stay up, absolutely fantastic. It's massive because the money will be even greater. The great thing about the promotion was that we got to pay off our stadium, the new stadium. I know you guys have got yours now. We're building ours just near Luton Station in the city centre. Work has kind of already started, just moving some substations around, but the bulk of the Premier League money from going up went to paying that off, which will be massive for us. That should be ready in about 4 or 5 years, hopefully, if all the plans are right. And that was the main thing for us. What that does for us in terms of Luton Town being a football club in the next 30, 40, 50 years is huge, and that was the main point for us. If we go down, it's all about the long game for us, and I think we'll, in our owners' hands, we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. Like I said, the start of the season's pretty good. There's been a few times we've needed to learn from Liverpool in the last minutes. We should have won that game really and not let it slip. That would have been a massive result for us. Wolves similarly. There's just a few times where we've let it slip late on, but on the other side of that is we score a lot of late goals. I think we're first in the Premier League for scoring late goals. So we never give up. We never ever give up. If we are down, then we will always keep going. So that's one thing, I guess. And I think the key to this has been Rob Edwards, really. He came in when Nathan Jones left to go to Southampton, his short-term project there. Nathan Jones left a very stable club with strong foundations. We were 10th when Rob Edwards took over after he was sacked from our friends down the road at Watford. And he picked us up and progresses even further. He seems to really bring the team together, seems to get the best out of players. But he's very humble as well. He'll always give the credit to the team, and he's not afraid to take risks. And I think the amount of homework he does, the amount of work that he does on and off the pitch, is the reason we are in the position we are. He's learned very, very quickly in the Premier League. I think that's really where we've seen him flower into a very good manager, because we already had a fantastic team. We just needed pushing over the line in the Championship, really. He did that exceptionally well. The foundations were already there, but it's a tough start in the Premier League, and he's learnt fast, and he showed that by competing against some very, very good managers in the Premier League. So we're very happy with him. We hope that we can keep him for the long term. I think realistically, if he continues going the way he's going and we keep progressing the way we're progressing, somebody would snap him up. He's got some good coaching pedigree at the England youth level. He did a good job with Forest Green, and he's done an exceptional job with us. So we're happy with him. Not just his football ability, he's such a good guy as well. And, the whole team really, I think a lot of our recruitment is not just based on ability to be a footballer, but what kind of character you are, if you're willing to dig in, if you're a good guy, if morals are there, so that goes right through the club, which is really, really good. And, he's put together a very capable squad. I think on paper, most would say, and if I take my Luton hat off for a second, that it's probably the weakest in the Premier League, but is it? I don't know. I think as a team, it's certainly not the weakest. As individuals, some would argue it would be. That probably just based on transfers fees alone. But I think when you get to the end of this season, that picture's going to change, I think. I'm very happy with the team. I think we might need another option up top. We've had a few injuries at the back as well, although we've been pretty solid. So we've discussed this on our podcast, and I think one more defender and one more striker, and we are just about there. I think that's all we'll need in January. No wholesale changes. We have started to cast our net a little bit further than the UK as well. We've been going to South America. There's a few players over there that we've been looking at that in defensive midfield kind of areas that we could potentially build into the team, push us on and go down the asset road of, again, that Brentford have followed and Bournemouth to a certain extent. So they've started to cast their net a little bit wider, which is great. And that's about it on Luton, really. I think, it's been a great story. I think you'll all have followed it because you guys have been on a very similar path. You didn't quite go down to the conference, but you were down there at the bottom with us in League Two. You've had the points deductions from the FA, which, similarly to us, although ours were quite hefty. You'll get our story a lot more than other Premier League clubs, and we're a similar size kind of club. Obviously, we've spent a lot more years in the top flight over the years and whatnot, but really, it's similar in size. You get what we're trying to do. We're trying to do it the right way, similarly to you, so you'll completely understand that. And you've got some players that have done that as well. Ethan Pinnock, I really like. He was at Forest Green. He's kind of gone up the leagues as we are, and he's over in that Jamaican team with Amari Bell that we have at Luton, who's done exceptionally well. I like Brentford as a club. Looking forward to seeing the stadium. Your old stadium was great as well. It's a nightmare to get to if you were driving. I remember once we'd driven down to London and got there about 5 o'clock for a 7:45 kickoff, and then didn't get to the game till like 9 o'clock. Absolute nightmare, but that was probably more about us than the actual issue of getting there. How do I think that the game will pan out? It's going to be tough. I think, again, if we look at it objectively, that from two teams that are relatively inconsistent, both have something about them, I'm going to go for 1-1. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a close match. I'll take 1-1 after the positive win against Palace for us. A point will do us before Arsenal next week. I would take it. You guys will be looking for a win, I'm sure, at home. But I'll go for 1-1. I'll be happy with that. If we win, fantastic. I know it's going to be tough. But thanks for having us. Ian Robertson, We Are Luton Town. Go follow us on the socials if you can as well. It's We Are Luton Town on Twitter, the Walpod on Twitter, and we're over on Facebook as well, We Are Luton Town. But yeah, thanks for having us, guys. And after Saturday, good luck for the rest of the season. Thank you. Goodbye.
So there you go. We Are Luton Town as well. Of course, we're proud of his side. And, listen, at the end of the day, they're enjoying the ride here. It's difficult, but they're fighting all the way. And as a result of that, we know it's not going to be easy. And a lot of people, they write players off, they write teams off. But for us, us being in this division, because we know what it's like being written off, you can't write teams off. We had Norwich come here a couple of seasons ago, and they hadn't won a game all season. Boom, they came here, got a result. We went to Burnley. They hadn't won all season. Boom, they got a result. Everton came this season as well, and couldn't beat a fly against the wall. Boom, they got a result. So at the end of the day, we can't take anything for granted, and we know that almost like Luton is going to be a tougher game for us than Liverpool, for example, because you go against Liverpool and kind of we know kind of how to play against that. Not so we don't know how to play against Luton, but it's going to be a different type of game there as well. You go to Arsenal. We could have got a result against Arsenal. 2 goals off the line. If both of them had gone and we'd gone 2-0 up, Arsenal would have had their backs up against the wall. We would have gone in defensive mode and happy days. But as it goes, that it wasn't necessarily the case. But Luton, very, very, very tough team to play against, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm looking at the league table now. There are 9 points, they're just above Sheffield United on 5, and then there's a jump to Bournemouth on 12. They're still embroiled in that relegation fight. They're certainly they're not sort of like clear of danger, but there's enough about them, as I've said, in my last piece. There's enough about them. They know how to approach a game. It's going to be really, really difficult for us. If we don't take our chances, then we can come a cropper, because they're good on the break like we are. They'll know how to to get at us, and they'll be wary though, because I still don't think our league position reflects how well we've played in most games. I think we're probably 3 or maybe 4 points shy of where we should be. But we've lost the last couple. We lost either side of the international break. We'll want to look at Saturday as a real opportunity, and that's not taking anything for granted. But we'll be looking at Luton as a game that we would be looking to win. The Liverpool game and the Arsenal game, if you get anything from those, then that's a bonus, because you think, right, we have got the beating of Luton, and we have, and that's not to say because they are Luton, it's not because they are anything. It's I back our team against theirs because I think we have a better team than them, and I think we've seen our team create really dangerous, really high quality chances in pretty much every game. So we do that, and we take them. We win the game. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I wish it was a bit warmer, Bill. It's bloody freezing out there.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple of Youngs of their winter warmer. I don't know if you've tucked into that. I'm not really a big lover of Young's beer, but it warms and it's beer, so it's good. I recommend that, mate.
That's right. Okay. Well, I might take your word on that. We see on Saturday as well. Going to be down the Globe as well. We've got some Luton chums coming down as well. Ros and her crew coming down as well, which should be all good. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit, because what we're going to do, like I said to you, is we've talked about Luton and us playing Luton now and the difference between our sides, but we thought, let's go down, and some of the fans like it, let's go on a little bit of a reminisce, because we played Luton quite a few times, and let's just talk about memories of our Luton matches. Laney, can you think of any Luton game that makes you think, oh cool, blimey, I remember that one?
I do remember selling fanzines outside the away end at Kenilworth Road with Dogcatcher. I think that was the last time sold, well, maybe not the last time I sold fanzines at an away game, but I do remember standing there. That could have actually been that FA Cup game, to be honest with you, because I know we drank in a town outside
Toddington. We drank
Toddington. Okay, we went to Toddington, and
in the I Can See Dead People pub. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So we went inside. What was that? I can't remember that movie's called, when the kid goes, "I can see dead people." I can see, yeah. And we went inside this pub, and it was just literally like that. It was properly spooky, and it was taken over by Brentford fans. There's loads of us took over that pub. We went inside that pub there because we heard drinking in Luton wasn't the safest place to go to, so we went to Toddington, and there was like about 50, 60 Brentford fans in there, and then we got taxis across to Luton from Toddington, as you do.
I think it was called The Sixth Sense, that film.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's the one.
Yeah. But that was a good game. We won 2-0 and got through to the next round of the cup. Yeah, that was a happy day. I remember going there on a Friday night. I think was that Friday night in the Championship. From that one season we went up, I've got a feeling that was another freezing cold night, I think. As I said, I haven't got a lot of love for away days at Kenilworth Road. There you go. But the last time we went there as well, we lost, and it snowed. Do you remember?
It was that was in the Championship as well, and we lost. It was snowed, and if I remember rightly, we lost 2-1. I think Dewsbury Hall played for them as well. Very good player.
Right.
He might have even scored for them as well. I remember it was a Tuesday night. I left very early. I brought my daughter Bella, who was very excited about going to Luton as well with her mate at the time, and we kind of got there. We couldn't find anywhere to go, and then we lost. And then we got home, and I think Bella said okay. I think she was a little bit disappointed with the away day. That she was very, very excited, because it was one of her she was on that away day run then, when she decided that she wanted to go to every single home and away game. I think she was about 11 at the time. She was just very excited, so that kind of sort of burst her bubble a little bit. But just coming back to and also the reason why that was interesting, I think that was our last away game. I might be wrong. Our last away game before lockdown. So
I don't think it was. It was that or Cardiff, but I think it might have been that one.
Cardiff. Yeah. So Cardiff was on the Saturday, and then we went to Luton on the Tuesday, and then after that we had Sheffield Wednesday at home, and then we had lockdown, and then the Fulham game was going to happen, and then we had lockdown, and so that's it. So Luton, I think, for many reasons, kind of reminds us of that kind of era where, hold on a second, everything just came to a standstill. But I can't believe that you just glossed over that FA Cup third round game, 8th of January 2005, when I said to you, we drank in Toddington, because that for me was one of the kind of most exciting. It was if you just watch it on YouTube, it was a brilliant day out. Loads of Brentford fans turned up. We were in the away end. We had Mad Dog Martin Allen, who was our manager at the time. I remember the atmosphere in Kenilworth Road was absolutely electric. The Luton fans were absolutely they were rabid. They were just absolutely potty for it. We all turned up. We were absolutely potty for it. I remember Gibbo, as you remember Gibbo turned up out of the blue as well. And he was there probably in his pink suit, in the away end, kind of like singing away. And honestly, it was really one of those ones where the atmosphere was so great. And then I remember before the game, Martin Allen, because he was just so mad, he walked around the pitch and then he started to walk in front of the Luton fans, and he was just kind of marching around the pitch, and he kind of kept on marching in front of them and then turning around and marching back again, and then he kept on, basically he was kind of sort of provoking them, but he wasn't doing it to them, and he just kept on marching, because we were in the corner, we were behind the goal but sort of near the corner near to them, and he kept on marching and then sort of going standing in front of them and sort of marching up and down with his hands behind his back, and all the Luton fans were like pointing at him and shouting and going this, that, the other, but he didn't care. He just kept on marching backwards and forwards, and he was getting the Brentford fans going and getting even more kind of excited, and they were singing, and the Luton fans singing, the Brentford fans were getting into it, and then he just sort of kind of went off. But basically he kind of like sparked the atmosphere. He just sparked this kind of tinderbox atmosphere, and then he went off into his dugout, and then the game started, and it was 0-0, if I remember rightly. Rankin had a shot. I think the shot was saved, and then Hargreaves came up, scored the first goal, and it was absolute carnage behind the goal. I mean, it really was, and then I think it was, remember J-Tab as well scored in the last minute as well to go 2-0 up, and it was just that feeling was just unbelievable. And if I remember rightly, was that the season where we beat Luton, then after that we went on to play Sunderland in the cup? Was that season, or was that the season before? I've got a feeling it was that season. So us winning that game, we ended up actually going on the cup run and playing Sunderland, if I remember rightly. Do you remember that, Laney?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't remember whether it was that season or the season afterwards.
That was Martin Allen's final season, where we actually got to the playoffs in the end. So we got to the playoffs. Luton actually won the league that year. I think Luton and Hull City, they're the two teams that went up. We ended up 4th, playing Sheffield Wednesday in the playoffs. We lost to the playoffs, Sheffield Wednesday. That was Martin Allen's last swan song before we went off into the sun somewhere like that. But like I said to you, I believe that we actually got to the cup final. We beat Sunderland, who were Premier League at the time, in the cup. I think it might have even been the following round. So that was quite exciting. Again, I might be wrong. I might be wrong about that, because DJ Campbell would have been hanging around. But I think DJ Campbell, he actually didn't start for us much before that game. But anyway, we're off on as well. I'm surprised you didn't mention the 7-0 match, which a lot of Luton fans talked to me about as well, when we beat them 7-0 at Griffin Park. Do you remember? You must remember that one.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah. But it does seem a very long time ago now.
Yeah, it was only 2019, and that was the day that we actually shot that video for the club as well. Do you remember? It was the one that we did in the family stand as well, which we were kind of putting our little besotted vibe on it as well, which I think I might dig out and have a look at that as well. Yeah. That was that Luton as well.
Maybe do a remix of that. We've still got the footage somewhere.
That's right. We should do that as well. And also, again, I'm just rehashing the old Luton games as well. You've got to talk about May 2009, like the final day of the season, May 2009. Brentford won the league. Andy Scott was the manager. We won the league. We were in the bottom tier, the Division 4 as it was at the time, and Luton were relegated out of the league, so they came down to us. We had won the league. We were going to get the cup. At the end of the match, I think Luton fans came on the pitch and they wouldn't clear the pitch, so they wouldn't present us the trophy. I think that was the case. But but that day was a very happy day for us. And I remember we went back to the Globe pub and we went and we sang Andy Scott on rotation for about 3 hours non-stop. Andy Scott. But that was a good day, Laney.
Yeah, I also remember scumbags coming back and smashing the bricklayers' arms up, and then putting tables through the new inn that night as well.
That wasn't that night. No, that was.
Well, no, not that night. That night of a game. Yeah.
So that was so interestingly, we at that time in effect relegated Luton to the conference that day when we went up. You're talking about April 1998, which interestingly was a game. It was at Griffin Park, the old Griffin Park. That was actually the day, like I said to you, when the Bricklayers Arms was still going, the old pub, the Bricklayers Arms. And we went back after the game. Brentford were actually in real relegation danger. We needed a win that day. We ended up drawing 2-2. I remember when we used to drink in the New Inn that day, we just sat in the New Inn and we were drinking, and we were still there about 7:30. It was like the last weekend in April, and it was quite sunny outside, and it was about 7:30. We just saw this massive gang of lads walk past the New Inn, and they went down the road, and we thought, what's going on there? And we all popped out the pub and we looked down there, and basically we see them just basically putting all these tables through the Bricklayers Arms, which was down there, which was sort of the main pub where a lot of Brentford fans used to drink. So that was actually quite bad. Then we actually had to sort of barricade ourselves in the New Inn as they came down there for us as well, which is actually quite bad. But what you don't realise that until you're looking at it is that actually us losing that game meant that we didn't get the 2 points. And if we got the 2 points, we might have actually nicked it and actually stayed up. But that year we got relegated to Division 4 as well, and Luton actually got promoted that year. So maybe that's the year that they got promoted. So actually we got relegated to Division 4, and ironically that was the sort of kind of the start of the change of Brentford, because the following season when Andy Scott came in, and ironically Andy Scott and Carl Hutchins actually scored in that game. Okay, the following season I think Andy Scott became manager, and the following season that's when the revolution started, and that's when Matthew Benham started to come in and Brentford started to become a different team in and around that time, 2009, 2010, 2011. So there is a little link with Luton and them kind of and revolutionising Brentford, isn't it, Laney?
Yes.
I want to talk as well. I, just for Luton fans, I also went to the playoff final they had against AFC Wimbledon up at Manchester City. I was there as well, that with my AFC Wimbledon chums as well. And we talked to Lloyd Owusu quite a lot, and he actually should have played in that match, and he was absolutely gutted. He had a bit of a Barney with the Luton manager at the time, and he wouldn't play him. And he'd been scoring lots of goals apparently, but he wouldn't play him. And I think a lot of Luton fans are very disappointed that Lloyd Owusu didn't play. And every time we speak to Lloyd, and we speak to him quite a lot, he talks about the fact that he was so gutted that he couldn't play for Luton at that time. But anyway, that's just quite a few stories. We can go into more. There's loads and loads of stories about, when I used to go and park in the car park at the back, because the Luton bouncers or the Luton security guys thought I was actually a player for Brentford at the time, when I used to sort of bowl up there in my motor as well. But we won't talk about that now. So just coming back to the game on Saturday, Lady, what do you reckon?
I think we're going to win 3-1.
Okay. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to the mighty Bees. So I want to just give a shout out. We talked about Carl Hutchins, who scored with Lloyd with what's his name? And the other day he scored as well with Andy Scott against Luton in that 98 game as well. And I want to thank him if he's listened to this podcast as well, because he actually came down to me, Barnet Panthers, and did a little guest coaching session for my girls actually on the pitch a couple of weeks ago as well. So big up. We've got Brentford players who are coming down and just doing the thing and doing wonderful things in grassroots football. So thanks Carl Hutchins for coming down and doing a little Panthers training session. And he's still got it as well. Really good coach as well, he is, which is all good. So you might see him down at Brentford. I might bring him down there and come and say hello to him when he comes down the Globe, maybe in a couple of weeks' time or whatever. But anyway, this is the Besotted Pride of West London podcast. We've had a good little chinwag about Luton, a little bit of a reminisce, haven't we, Laney? I know we're feeling all confident about Saturday, aren't you?
Yeah, you seem to have like warmer memories of Luton games than me, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one on Saturday, and I'm hoping that we can get back on the winning track.
Fingers crossed we can get winning. Don't forget to buy us a beer, besotted.com/beer. Subscribe on all good podcast channels and write us a review. And after the match, prideofwest.london, you'll catch the post-match podcast. Loads of views from Luton fans and from Brentford fans. But like we say, we've got Luton, we're coming out, we've got lots of memories, but we're moving forward. Come
on, you bees.
Come on, you bees. Let's beat them Hatters. Mad as a Hatter.
A big week next week.
Very strange. Very mad.
You bees.
Brentford FC.